All right, everyone, how are you? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for stopping by. On the show this week, I sit down with my good friend, Tommy Roberts. Tommy is a co-founder, co-owner of Tone Shop Guitars located in Addison, Texas, with two other locations in Southlake and Fort Worth. We talked about the idea for starting an independent music store in an already saturated market. He told me all about it. We got back into his past of working for the big box stores and how they started this thing up, the success they found, and we just told some stories, man. It was a lot of fun. We did the interview in the showroom of Tone Shop, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll get to see all these beautiful Les Pauls behind us. It was a lot of fun hanging out with my friend Tommy. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
Hi, my name is Tommy Roberts. I own Tone Shop Guitars, co-own Tone Shop Guitars.
Here in Addison, Texas.
Yeah, North Dallas.
And you guys have 3 locations now,
We
right?
do. We opened this one going on 10 years.
Yeah.
So we soft opened in August 10 years ago, and October will be our official 10th anniversary.
10 years. Wow. What did you do before that? What got you into this, you know?
Well, I mean, for almost 30 years, I've been playing in crappy bands and slinging slinkies behind the counters at guitar shops. So the first guitar shop I worked at was called Spear Music in Garland, Texas.
Yeah.
And I took a pay cut from a job I had at the Express in the mall. Took $1 less to go work there. Should have known then. Did that for 3 years, and then I went and worked for the big box store here for years. I worked at a store in downtown Dallas for 5 years, and then they moved me to Nashville for basically right on 5 years. And then I had a chance to come back to Dallas Fort Worth, and did that for another 4 years or so before transitioning out of that. And then me and Grant, who co-owned the shop, we were trying to figure out what we do next in life, and we were silly enough to stay in what we know in the MI industry, in the guitar industry, and we thought we had a good plan. We both had our individual ideas of what to do. We kind of merged them, and then just went, and then it happened really quick.
Yeah.
And so there was 11 big box stores in Dallas Fort Worth. When we opened, Sam Ash just went out of business. But, there's 10 big box stores. And so kind of foolish on paper, but the appetite for it, for a local, strong independent, was even better than we could have hoped for. So it's been a fun ride.
So when you and Grant sat down and started talking about this place, I do remember walking in here 10 years ago, and it was empty. You had a few guitars on the wall, and Grant had a fold-out table.
I love that. We have a kind of a great photo of that. I kind of stood over there and took a photo of Grant. We had a Walmart table and a couple refurbed Apple laptops, and trying to figure this all out. And it went really quick. Just like the industry you're in, your reputation, it kind of helps you go from gig to gig. And it feels cool when you have a good reputation. So when we were driving around Texas thinking about opening an independent guitar shop in Dallas Fort Worth, we started calling the vendor community, people we know, called Aaron Doblo, who I'd hired in this industry. He's the national sales manager at Taylor. We just started calling folks we know and just said, hey, do you have an appetite for another store in Dallas? And it made us feel really good that, everyone said yes. We didn't have a lease. We didn't have a spot. They didn't know how big or small it was going to be, or what all we were going to do. And it meant the world to me and Grant, that our reputations were solid in the vendor community. And they all said yes.
Yeah.
A lot of them started sending us gear to our homes.
Really?
We didn't even have a lease. And so we debuted at Jimmy Wallace's Dallas Guitar Show in May 10 years ago because we wanted people to know that we were going to do it. We didn't even have a lease. We signed a lease and we took possession July 1st, and then we went to Summer NAMM and tried to buy guitars and just kind of started that way. So it's been fun.
Now, was the idea to kind of bring back that feeling of a Spear music and that, that vibe you got from when I grew up same time you did. I went to Spear and I would walk in there and just gawk at all the music and all the music gear. And it kind of made you feel like everybody was cool that walked in there.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Irving, home of Lee Harvey Oswald. So there's a shop still around, Murphy's Music. You know, Mike and Buzzy Murphy, kind of icons, just legends, so to speak. And they were in the Irving Mall, and their dad used to would take the organ with an extension cord and kind of go out in the mall by Sears. And he looked like Ashley Schaefer BMW character from Eastbound and Down. He'd be out there playing, answer the phone. He'd be out there playing the organ, trying to lure people in it. That was kind of my first guitar shop memories, and shopping there as a kid with the leather. We were mall rats, There in my leather jacket, just can I play the Les Paul? No. Can I buy the Marshall? You don't have enough money, Tommy. Maybe the crate.
Yeah.
So,
but I remember the commercial of him going through the wall.
Yeah. But my favorite guitar shops in this area, there were two. There was Melody Shop, which was in the North Park Mall. They were in multiple malls, but it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And Grant worked there. I didn't know that. I didn't know Grant then. But you walked in and it was a record store, and it was, it was gothic, cool rock and roll girls, which wasn't accepted kind of look in today, like it is in today's society. So it was very taboo looking punk rock, new wave girls. And then you went to this back and they had Charvels and Jacksons and to get a job there, you had to be in one of the top bands, and it was like high fidelity. It was like, can I touch that? No. Can I play that? No. And my favorite thing, I went and asked to play a Charvel one time, and the guy looked hungover, and he goes, "Go get your stepmom's checkbook." And I'm like, my parents aren't divorced. I didn't know. So, but really the shop that I idolized was in Oak Cliff before Oak Cliff was Eugene's. And I'd heard about, there was a local heavy metal guitar player named Byron Hawk who was always super kind to me, even though I couldn't play like that style. But super, super sweet. He's a teacher on the East Coast. And he told me about Eugene's. But at the time, Eugene was like in his house and like in his garage slinging guitars. And then he got a shop off Jefferson in Oak Cliff. And I was 15, so I got my mom to drive me out there, and so I had $300, and I wanted to buy a Marshall cabinet. So when I got to the store, Eugene had the store closed because the Japanese were in town buying vintage guitars. So he'd closed the store off, and I told him I was just there to buy a cabinet. He goes, "Well, you can go in this room, and I have a black Marshall cabinet, I have a crate blue Voodoo cabinet, and a used Marshall cabinet." It was an old basket weave. And I was like, I wanted the black one. But I played them. I'm like, it's all right. And then I played the crate, and the crate sounded better to me than the black Marshall because it had vintage 30s, but I didn't know anything about, just for the internet, for the gear page and Harmony Central. And then I played the really beat up one who had looked like a blood stain on it. But it ended up having, signed by Jim Marshall on the inside, found out later on, had blackback Celestion speakers in it. And I bought that one. It sounded better than all of them. And my friends called it the milkshake cabinet because it looked like someone just dropped a chocolate milkshake down the front of it. My best friend still has it, won't sell it back to me. But that's, that was just a magical store because it was just like a time life. You would just see gear come and go. You see musicians come and go. And then that day he was bringing guitars out of the back to show the folks from Japan. and he was pulling vintage guitars out, and they would say yes or no, and they put them in a pile. And I remember he brought a 70s Telly out, and he flipped it over and had a Gretsch plate on it, back plate on it.
Yeah.
And it had Jimmy Vaughn's initials. He's like, Jimmy Vaughn's Telly. And they're like, it's not original. We don't want it. And he's like, it's Jimmy Vaughn's. And they never, so they couldn't figure out. I'm like, so how do you get access to this back room, handshake deal? And so later, Eugene's moved down Jefferson in Oak Cliff across from the Texas Theater where Lee Harvey Oswald was captured. But that was not built up like it is nowadays. It was sketchy. And,
I remember.
And I would love just go in there, and you just see all kind of, you see Brian Harris, who owns Charlie's now. I'd see him there hold court, and Terry Glaze and Eric Johnson, and just total musicians would come and go from there. And it was just a really, really cool shop. So I always, that shop was endearing to me. And the fact that all the local players went there. And so it's kind of where you wanted to go. So I always wanted to have that in the guitar shops where the real local players, it's a secondary home for them.
Well, you said something earlier, like you liked going into Eugene's because they were always so kind.
Yes.
And that's the word. That's the word, because, I grew up in Corsicana, and we just heard about, side note, I bought my first good guitar at the Melody Shop.
Really?
And I was broke, but I put it in a layaway. And when I got it home, when I got it out, I opened it up, and there was a Loco Gringo's pick in the guitar. Years later, I found out this guy.
Yeah, you probably borrowing your layaway?
Grant probably borrowed my guitar and did a gig with it.
Probably took it to some shows in Mexico.
Yeah, but I, so we knew about the Melody Shop. We knew about, was it C&S Music in Arlington and Charlie's. But I remember someone at Charlie's telling me about Eugene's.
Yeah.
And I hightailed it over there. I just started driving, and I remember the neighborhood being sketchy.
Yeah.
But I remember walking in there and them treating me like I was a regular customer anytime I went in there. And you wanted to buy things from them because of that.
Yeah. It was cool.
But that's the vibe I get coming in here.
Oh, man.
And we're friends, so I expect you to be nice to me. But I've spent a lot of time in this store, and I see why people are drawn to it, especially locally, because it's a big space, but it gives you that feel of a Eugene's that, hey, everyone's welcome. You play whatever you want. Play Stairway, whatever you want in here.
Hey, man, you can play Stairway here.
If you come in here and you just want to play a guitar and buy a pack of strings, fine, buy the pack of strings. But, hey. So I think that's the... that to me is why the store is so successful.
Yeah. So where did you, let me ask you a question. Where did you buy your first guitar?
I bought my first guitar, very first guitar. Sure. I bought it at a thrift. It wasn't a thrift store. It's like a junk salvage store in Corsicana. It's an old Silvertone.
Do you remember the person's name you bought it from?
I don't.
Sales guy?
I don't.
Who was the sales guy you bought? Who was your first regular sales guy you bought from?
Regular sales guy that I bought guitars for. That my next guitar was a Harmony that I ordered from JCPenney.
All right.
And it came in, and I was so excited to go to the desk because I ordered it from
Sears,
the store.
Those were the original Amazon, right?
Yeah.
You get the catalog.
Court was the Sears brand, and Harmony was the JCPenney brand.
Right.
That they probably were made side by side. But when I went to North Park Mall, to the Melody Shop, I was working at H-E-B Grocery.
Yeah. And
I went there, and I played a lot of guitars, and I didn't know anything about, I'd been playing this Harmony and this Silvertone, which probably, the Silvertone is probably worth a lot of money now.
Yeah.
It had the Harmony amp too. But I settled on this 375 Deluxe.
All right.
And it was a really pretty, like, sunburst color. And I don't remember the guy's name. But he was a Mexican dude. He was a Mexican dude at North Park Mall.
Right.
And he was, now that I think about it, he was one of those wheeler dealers, probably got everything out of me he could,
Right.
But the cool thing about it is, like I said, I put it in a layaway, but he would let me come every weekend and play it. I'd come every week and pay on it.
Conjugal visits on
And
the
I'd have
guitar
conjugal
layaway.
visits with my guitar. And when I came in, to get it out of layaway, he goes, "You want to play your guitar?" I was like, "I'm taking it home," you know. So I don't remember his name, but I do remember he was a Mexican dude.
Well, I always ask that because you I always just have fond memories like Dave at Brook Mays, who at Plymouth Park in Irving Shopping Center in Irving. He was super cool to me and let me do long layaways, and and you always you build a relationship with these people, and so I always attribute to this, like, so when you and Diane bought your first house, right?
Yeah.
So you signed a mortgage, like 30-year loan, right? And you told someone, you basically on a piece of paper wrote an IOU that I'm going to give you 200,000, 150, 400, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
You said, I'm going to pay you over 30 years. Can you name that person's name?
Nope.
No, but I can tell you the
guy,
the dudes I bought guitars from over the years,
It's like that saying goes, like, I can't remember this, but I remember that guy because he has a 59 Les Paul.
Yeah, every house that my wife and I've ever bought, I'm like, sure, I'll pay you. So whoever you are, but I can name the people that were cool as shit to me at music stores, and the ones that weren't. There's one place we used to take our guitars and we called it $5 for the setup and $45 for verbal abuse. And he was the guy named Randy. He was the best guitar tech in town, and he just beat the crap out of us as young kids, but mentally. But
we had a place in Corsicana. It was called the Musician Shop, and it was owned by two brothers. I want to say one, Bugs and Billy, and I don't know their last name.
Right.
But they had little patience for kids coming in their store and playing what they had. I mean, they had some great guitars, but we didn't know. We just knew there were guitars on the wall and we wanted to play them, and they would just come over there and go and just kindly take it out of our hands and hang it back up, but on that note, after I started playing, I had a specific sales guy at the Guitar Center on Spring Valley when they first opened.
Yeah.
Chad Allen, the legend Chad Allen. And I only bought from him. He was a wheeler dealer too, but I struck up a friendship with him that's
he remember it's people come in. He's been working here for years now. Employee 186 at Guitar Center, and worked there for almost 30 years, I think. So, but I grew up with him in Irving, and so and Grant and him worked together, and but that's all he's done. And before that, he was at a mom and pop store in Irving called Concord Music. Yeah. Before he was at the first Guitar Center in Dallas. Yeah. So, but he's a lifer.
Yeah, I remember talking to him at the Guitar Center on Spring Valley. We were just having a conversation, and a woman came up. She goes, "Are you a sales guy?" And he goes, "That our top sales guy for the last 6 months."
You made it to the top.
He said, according to the records, the top one for the last 6 months. Yeah, he always had those lines, and then, he made the customer feel.
He's just a blue collar. He plays every weekend in one of his 3 bands. I don't know how he does it, man. He plays a ton of gigs, and we love that. We have, I think your first podcast was Leah Lane, Rose Garden.
Yeah,
she used to work here, but she thinks touring Europe right now. She's just road dog, just grinding, doing awesome. And so I mean, it's. We like to have people. You don't have to be in bands or play music. You just have a love of music to work here.
Yeah.
But we try to balance. It's tough sometimes, because a lot of our guys and gals play shows, and so we're a Saturday company, so to speak. So you got to have somebody stand here. But we try to balance it all out to where, because it's just cool when people, you want good people to be in the shop. So
yeah. And that day I came in here, you got a guy working here, Mike Doty, who's to me, the most underrated guitar player in Dallas, Texas. But he's also your secret weapon.
He's a monster, man.
I always say, when someone comes in and he's like showing him a guitar, he throws out those Doty licks, and then you automatically think, I'm going to sound that good when I buy that guitar. And you walk out with a guitar.
Yeah, I mean, he was in a big band, House Arcona and HK here, and plays in 3 bands now. And just a, when I met him, he was definitely in full rocker mode, touring a lot. But I always thought he was smarter than, I always tell him, I thought you were smarter than the jean jacket, and he's a great guy. And we took him, I love watching him sell guitars. Yeah. He's incredible at it. And, we're not salespeople. We're just liaisons, everyone walks in, everybody walking in, they want a guitar. So it's not like you're trying to convince them, though, you need this. They, if they can only afford an Epiphone, but they really want a Les Paul, they can afford a Squire. They all want it. So it's not like you're really doing magic. You're just trying to help them through the process. Yeah. Help them. And the most rewarding thing to me sometimes is not selling people stuff. It's helping them not buy the wrong thing, And so, there was a waiter, we were just talking about Chewy's. There was a waiter that worked at the original Chewy's, and he was always releasing CDs in the 90s. And, and it was always cool if he got thanked on the Toadies records or whatever. And I always enjoyed that. It was super cool selling people gear. But I always enjoyed his because he said, thanks to Tommy, whatever store he's working at nowadays, for talking me out of buying the wrong gear and buying the right gear.
Oh, wow.
And that was a big compliment to me. So, it's so sometimes you just go, hey man, because you don't want them to be stuck with it. It's like, you want to help them. I mean, I'll ring them up on anything they want to buy, but you want to try to help them through the process. And that's the art. And Doty, he's been our day one employee. It was Matt Treadway as a guitar tech, and Doty and me and Grant and my wife. And, and we paid Doty and Matt, we didn't pay Brittany, Tommy, or Grant for a long time because we had to get this thing in the air. Yeah. And, he's been great. So I took him to Martin to do our first custom shop order 8 years ago this month. And, it's the one factory at the time I hadn't been to. And we were nervous. We were in like 5 or 6 custom shop Martins. And that was a lot of money for us, And we weren't sure how the wood selection was going to go. Are they going to show us anything good? Are they going to give us the low end wood? What everyone didn't want. Yeah, we went, and it was incredible. Their wood selection guy was phenomenal. And Doty got it instantly, and we ordered guitars, and that was the beginning. So since then, I don't even really go. I've been back one other time, but I don't. We just send him to do wood selections annually, a couple times a year. Sometimes it's a hybrid between virtual. But in this last year, not that Chad Allen Raker is really mean, but we passed Gruen and became the #1 custom shop Martin dealer in the world. And it's really, really cool. That's an accomplishment. It's a big deal. Yeah. And he's great at that. And we always have 50 or 60 one-off Martins in there to go through. Yeah. It's pretty. I own one. Yeah. You know what I love about this shop, and I've always loved about it, man, is that you walk into some places, even some independent shops around the U.S., and it's like a salesman, a car salesman vibe. They're like you said, you want someone not to buy the wrong gear. You're trying to guide them into it. But if you have your eye on a 69 reissue up here, they're going to target like, oh, you got to have that. Right. You got to have that. And it may not be #1 in your price range. It may not be the guitar for you, but they'll push it. And I'm not saying all stores. Here, like, I love that you guys like play it. If you vibe with it, take it. If you vibe with this $300 Epiphone, take it. Well, we're not rich, so we got to sell stuff, but we just try to, do unto others, right? When Grant and I were driving around Texas debating whether we were silly enough to stay in the music industry after leaving our last jobs, we went into a store. And I won't tell you which store it was, but we walked in. I'd never been in the store. And I walked in, and the salesperson walked by and went, "Oh, man, good to see you again." And it was just greasy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, fuck this place," But, it was like the whole store, it was a Shark Tank, and they had literally all the 70s, 80s, and 90s greasy chops going.
Wow,
they were like slinging them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to get out
That
of there.
Axel did good.
Yeah.
So you got the thumbs of a baseman.
Yeah. And so it's, it's just, I don't understand people that need to be asked to buy something,
Yeah.
I know what I want,
Yeah.
if I walk in and to a, I love to go to other guitar shops. If I walk in and I see a cool guitar, I'm like, I'm going to figure out, all right, let's do it. I'll know instantly if I'm buying it or not. Yeah. And so some people have different styles. And we see it with people that come in, they like to think about it. And back to Doty, who we just started really getting into the custom shop Martin phase. And we probably had about 20 at the time. And the gentleman drove down from Oklahoma. And he was hemming and hawing. And we're like, he was right there. We could have just
pushed him over that
guitar.
edge. Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, I don't really know. I'm going to need to think about it." And Doty and I were like, "Cool." And because it was me and Doty on the floor for years. And, then Reese came on. And we had, there was a phone to answer. There was someone else to talk to. So we didn't push it. And he got in his car and he drove back to Oklahoma. And about 2 weeks later, he came walking in with like 4 cases. He's like, "I'm here to get the guitar." We're like, "That guitar sold before you crossed the Red River." Someone else that day bought the guitar.
Yeah.
He goes, "Man, I really wish you guys would have made me buy it." And we're like, "Man, I'm sorry. We just
didn't want to push you."
Yeah, and so it's a running joke now. If somebody comes in and they're right there on the fence and they're looking at a Fender or Gibson or whatever, and they go, "We'll just go," and they're leaving and go, "Great, man. So just go ahead and pull the case because it's going to sell online or someone's going to come in and buy it that day." So, but I don't want to, in all our stores, Chris Acosta and Justin Almerson and our Fort Worth store, great players and play out in the local community, and Mo Stevens and Aiden in our South Lake store, they're in bands and they're playing. They're just, when I try to hire somebody, I want somebody that I want to be around, and I want somebody that I would buy a guitar from.
Yeah.
If I'm hiring a guitar tech, would I take one of my guitars to be set up by them?
Yeah.
And so I had a chance to hire this one guy that works locally in a music store, and he came from Guitar Center, and he was the top writer in one of the stores, and a good dude, and I like him, but he's also the glass kind of half empty, but, and I was like, man, I just don't want to be around it. And so I'm protective of who we bring into the fort.
Yeah.
And I don't bat 1,000, but we like low turnover. We like people to see the same faces. And, that's a big deal to us. So.
Yeah. Everything. I don't, my big turnoff for years at the box stores around here and was to going in and the condescending comments are like, "I'm better than you." You come in here and no head is held higher than anyone. Like everyone's cool. Everyone's, if you're a regular, they know you by your name.
Right.
And that's what I dig about this place. And one thing I really dig about you, man, is someone told me a long time ago, you don't sell your whatever you have by putting another man's product down. Like I've been in here when people ask you, you're like, "Hey, yeah, they got a great shop over there, man. Check it out. It might be what you're looking for. If you don't find it here, you might find it there." Yeah. And there's a couple of shops here in town that, I know you guys kind of work together, you know?
I mean, it's a limited market,
Yeah.
and it's a limited market share, and I'm competitive. I want
Yeah.
all. I used to say I want all the business, but I want the right business. It's cool to
I want
be
all
able.
the right business.
It's cool. Sometimes just people are just miserable they don't know if they're winning on a deal, or
Yeah.
it's just always got to be a negative experience. And it's cool to just go, hey man, maybe we're not the shop for you. Or,
Yeah.
we have a 72-hour return policy. And if all our guys are trained, if somebody's like, hey, what is your return policy? We're like, hey man, let me answer any questions you have before you leave with it. And it's just because I can't, if you were buying a Fender custom shop from me and we had a 45-day return policy and some guy had that at his house for 44 days and his cat lived in the case.
Yeah.
I can't look you in the eye and say that's a new guitar.
Yeah.
So we actually go, our policies kind of complete opposite of where some of the online and big boxes, and just because it's got to be a new product. You can't just sell a guitar 3 times and it's out of your store for a month at a time, and then represent that as a new product, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so and it's okay to not buy something. If you don't know, just don't buy it, or come try it out. I encourage people, bring your amp, bring your pedal board, bring your rig, so you can go through I understand going through the process.
Yeah.
And so we try to minimize returns. We don't try to be mean about it. We just try to just be honest. Hey man, I want to, if this pedal's been on your board for a tour, it's probably not a new pedal.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a little bit different than what's going on than the rest of the shop. So
in all the years you've been doing this, what's the craziest piece of gear that's ever crossed your hands, and what's the piece of gear you kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Regret.
Yeah.
Getting rid of or selling.
Of mine. Oh, I could probably start with that. 100 years ago, when I was in a band called the Moon Festival, we were on a little local label called Dragon Street. I had a Gibson 295. I have an SP5 pedal board and a Vox AC30. And you couldn't buy any of those pieces at Guitar Center. The Guitar Center wasn't a Gibson dealer for like a stretch of time. And so it'd be cool, like play gigs and go, where'd you get that? And like, not telling you where I got it, because I wanted to have the only one of those. And so when I stopped touring, I sold that guitar. And I can't confirm it, but there was a magazine called Guitar Aficionado. Yeah. And they had John Stamos on it one time, and he was playing a reissue 295, and it looks like the one I toured with forever. So probably not, but it was like a 91 one. It's not a vintage guitar, but it was just, I toured with that guitar, and it was all beat to hell. And it was a cool piece. So and that would be cool because I was at the time size 28 jeans, skinny, lanky. So if you were playing a show and the other guitar player in another band would, break a string and need a guitar, I'm like, sure, man, I'll have load them this big oak Gibson hollow body that I had 2 Earth 3 straps put together so that I could play it low. Really low. And I would just watch it be down to somebody's ankles. I'm like, why in the fuck did you not bring 2 guitars to your gig? Not my fault. Right. So I would just get a kick out of that one. So that guitar meant, so I always are on Reverb looking at that model, just,
Were there any distinguishing marks that you could, if yours came
Yeah,
up?
there is. Yeah. There is. Part of the Bigsby piece had a little crack in it. So I could tell if I found it, but I need it don't need it, but just a cool guitar it meant the world to me. What was the other question?
What's the rarest piece of gear that you're because I go in your office and I'm in awe because anytime I go in there's something different. I'm like, oh, where'd you find that? What made you go like, whoa?
Man, obviously super bursts, things like that. You get to touch things like that, and but I don't want to take credit for this at all. It'd be I had mentioned to Glenn Pizer, who works at Ernie Ball Strings at Music Man, that during the Eric Clapton Crossroads, that I said, guitar centers get all the money in the world, they should buy Blackie. And he went over to Marty Alberson and talked about it. Now, I had nothing to do with them buying Blackie.
Yeah.
It was the Burst Brothers, and I think John Hamer, some other, Mike Doyle, all these other people did all that. I mean, I suggested it, because I was just looking at that guitar on a $10 stand the whole time. I was like, it'd be cool to reproduce that. And so then I got to play, Blackie and hold it. It's a Strat. It was cool. But I played, something by
but
the
it's his
Beatles
Strat.
the George Harrison thing. But so that was cool, just iconic instruments. But man, the guitar shows in the 90s, there would be famous people's guitars that are like crazy, like Dave Davies of the Kinks Flying V. It would be traded from vendor, and like Joey from Badfingers, Les Paul would be there, and Eugene, we talked about Eugene's, he let me into a show one time early, and when I was a kid, maybe 16 years old, and he goes, "Don't fuck anything up, but you can walk around." So I found this booth and like, oh, look at this guitar, and picking it up, I took a picture and put it down, and I backed up, and it was the Hard Rock. So there it was like one of Hendrix's Strats and all that. And I'm just like, But those were kind of cool days before everything kind of dissipated. I remember seeing a guy had Greenie at one of the guitar shows, before Kurt Hammett bought it.
Wow.
So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Les Paul.
I think my personal opinion of Greenie, like it was Gary Moore's.
Yeah.
And then it's changed hands, but I think the legend of it is what makes it
100%.
So, like it's kind of like, number one, Gilmore's number one.
I've been lucky to not own or any 59s, but meet people that have them, and then Drew Berlin's always been sweet. It's like, hey, check this out. Probably played 10, 12 bursts in my life, and they're cool. But even if I had that kind of money, I don't know that I would buy one. I would buy a custom shop one. But I get it. It's a whole nother plateau.
Yeah, if you have that, there's.
I say that, but maybe I would if I had the money.
If I had the money, I say that too. I was like, wow, I'd buy the guitar I want before I buy the guitar that one for that much money.
Always wanted like a Champagne Sparkle double cut Gretsch, early 60s. I got the same year as Malcolm's Gretsch. Which is rad, Jetbird.
Yeah. Is that your guy, Malcolm?
I love Malcolm, man.
Yeah.
How can you not, man? How can you not? That's the tone.
Yeah.
So when I play with Terry and that Project Evil Freely, I always he plays my Malcolm, but same year as Malcolm, Jetbird through a J&P through Black. And it's like, that tone is incredible. Which always drives me crazy. That's why on that band, it was like Ludwig drums, Ampeg bass, J&P, Gretsch, and then a Gibson and an 800 or a Flight C or a Matchless. So it's fun stuff. So
I mean, those two guys, man, that's all they, Angus and Malcolm. That you don't need anything else.
Well, people don't make records like that anymore.
Yeah.
Even old bands that release new stuff, you don't. It's. What blew my mind instrumentation wise was, do you ever hear the Colt, the Manor Sessions?
No.
So they did the Love album, right?
Yeah.
So jazz chorus, Gretsch, dreamy guitar, great record. Then they did electric, but in between then they used the same producer, and they recorded the electric album with the Love producer, and Billy's playing the same rig.
Yeah.
So it's the songs off Electric, but it sounds like Love.
Yeah.
And they weren't happy with it.
I've seen live versions of them doing like Love Removal Machine.
Right.
In that, you know.
And so then they went and scrapped it and got with Rick Rubin, and they rented I think a Les Paul Deluxe and an 800 at SIR and made the same record, same band, same songs, but the only difference is the guitar rig.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's how powerful the nuance of instrumentation is. You know, he literally used a different guitar and a different amp, and then Rick Rubin made it AC/DC dry. And it's one of my favorite records. But I also love the Manor Sessions, which is kind of like a hybrid between
I'll have to check it out, man.
Yeah.
Have to check it out.
I'll find a link to send you. So where did we meet? Did we meet at Galaxy Club? We
met at Galaxy Club. You were with Novachrome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We met at Galaxy Club years ago, and we were just like acquaintances. We would just cross paths. Like we talked about Mitch, who recently passed away. Like, so we were during those days. And I think we crossed paths in Denton when you were living in Denton. So, you know, we've always been acquainted.
We've known each other as long as I can remember. But
yeah, I remember when you were at Guitar Center on Central.
Oh yeah, I love
and I would go in there and talk to Jude and try and make deals, Martinez. And he'd like, let me talk to Tommy, and I'd say, Tommy doesn't like me, you know, he's not gonna give me a deal, you know.
I'm a whore. I'll give you a deal.
Anyway, yeah, man, Gibson. We're sitting in front of all these Gibsons. What makes Gibson? I used to be a douche about it because I had this old Gibson Pro,
right,
which was the poor man's custom,
right,
and whoever owned it before me routed it out and put humbuckers in it. And I remember when I was playing and people would say, is that a Gibson? I'd say, do they make any other guitar? Like real douchey.
Yeah.
What makes Gibson so iconic?
And you know, it's just like obviously the name of the Les Paul and just the artists that have played them over the years. Yeah. You know, all the companies, you know, Fender, Gibson, Martin, Taylor, all the big ones, Rickenbacker, Collings. It's the guitar buying community can be very conservative in that, you know, so they have a hard time with change sometimes when they're pushing technology. So that's why you kind of have a reissue market, and you know, and then they could kind of just, hey, here's our newest version of the Strat or the newest version of the Les Paul, and try different stuff. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
No.
So
you
know, one of my customers told me I vote Democratic, but I buy Republican on guitars. That's pretty.
That's a great.
It's a good line.
Yeah,
so,
that is a good line, man.
You know, it's tough to be. It's tough to. There's only so much you can do, right? 12 notes of music, and so. But I would say the guitar. All the brands. It's a great time in the guitar building community out there. I feel like all the ships have risen. The quality of guitars, in my opinion, it's like when I was at Spear, I sold Duesenberg and Santa Cruz and a lot of really Froggy Bottom, some really cool high-end guitars, but they were kind of like Martin custom shop that Martin really wasn't doing, and great guitars. But now Martin makes, you know, the Martins, just the plain D28s, HD28s are phenomenal, but their custom shops are incredible. Yeah. All of them have just the quality, and I attribute that to consistency in manufacturing, the internet. People are more educated in it. You know, I met a guy that worked at the Gretsch factory in Brooklyn back in the day, and he was like, it was the 60s. We were doing drugs. It's like, you know, we didn't know people were going to be dissecting the guitars. It's like sometimes the guitars are good, sometimes they were bad, you know, and but there's a charm with the old guitars and the old woods. And so I love vintage guitars, but they've always been somewhat unobtainable for me through my life. You know, that's why I kind of got into pedals and vintage pedals, because I could buy a tube screamer, but I couldn't buy. I have a Polaroid from a guitar show. I look like Gavin Rosdell, Bush haircut, and I'm holding a 59 TV Junior And I'm like, and like it was $1,500. Was probably like one day I'll have $1,500 and I'll buy one of these.
Oh
Like,
my God.
guess what? It's not, they're not $1,500 anymore.
No.
So I'll probably never own a TV Junior, because
I've got to hold two iconic 59s in my life. Joe Perry's, and I did it without permission.
Was that when you were working at the Sphere?
When I did the residency
Vegas?
and his tech pointed it out, and I picked it up and put it on, and to me it felt like a regular guitar.
Yeah.
But it, and Ed King's Red Eye, when Jason got it,
That's awesome.
he let me play it, and
Cool.
So that was enough for me. But the price tag on those guitars, well, Joe got his free, so Joe got his back for free.
It's Joe Perry.
Yeah.
So
yeah, those are the rarest guitars. I owned a 64 Casino for a minute and sold it, not knowing,
yeah,
that.
That's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
If I'm not using it, or unless it's a sentimental guitar for whatever reason, I'll put it on the chopping block.
Yeah.
Move it into something else. So
yeah. Well, man, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I've wanted to talk to you and Grant about this shop. You guys have 3 locations now.
Yes.
Addison, South Lake, Fort Worth.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
And are you Texas's largest independent, or what would you call yourself?
Everything's bigger in Texas. It probably depends on the brand, where we stand on the ranker, so to speak. But we sell a lot of guitars, and so I don't, I don't know where that is, but we're a big shop. This is 7,000 square foot showroom, and the Plek machine in the back and a whole other section. So, it's been a fun 10 years. And
10 years, man.
10 years,
I was in here the other day talking to Doty, and he, we were like, 10 years went by like that.
Flew by. It's totally flown by. And, I always can't, my wife is like, you just love work. And, I can't wait to get here.
Is it that old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life?
I guess so. It's definitely
a cliche saying, but
it's definitely, you have stress because it's a crazy industry. But it's very, all the mistakes are yours and all the wins are, your guys, your staff. And so, I'm not buying a yacht anytime soon, but if I can do this until I leave this mortal coil and not get a real job, I'll consider it a win.
Right on, man.
And having Grant as a partner, and
it's
been great. And then Jay Tynes is our as a partner as well with us, who I went to high school with and plays bass in the Gringos, and he co-owns the South Lake and the Fort Worth store with us. So he's currently getting the Fort Worth store going. He's been there for the year, getting that up the ground, off the ground. So,
well, on a personal note, man. A few years ago, we had a little hiccup in the world during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I went through some rough times, and I came to have lunch with you and Grant one day, and you guys saw it in my eyes, like, there's something going on with you. And you extended this offer. You said, hey, come here, come hang out with us. We'll pay you. You can be in the back and ship all our pedals and guitars. And you really brought me out of this fucking darkness. And I'll forever be thankful, because the family here at this place, man, is really something. And I got to spend time with you. I got to spend time with Brittany and Grant and Doty and Leah.
Yeah.
And Leah's the one that convinced me, like, hey.
Yeah.
And I was telling her, like, I got this idea. I want to talk to people. She's like, you should do a podcast. And I said, well, you should do it first. And she's like, okay.
Yeah,
so, it all started here. And so I want to thank you personally in front, because you did. You made a very big impact.
Hey, it was just we had a spot, and it was just unfortunately that was a weird time. I didn't know what was going to happen. We were non-essential, so we couldn't open the store, and but we were sneaking in here, me and Dodie, and shipping reverb orders, and people call and go, can you just open the back door and throw the bass in the trunk? And I'm like, sure. It's kind of like speakeasy, so to speak. It was crazy. And so, I'd filled out all the furlough paperwork for the entire staff, and it was bluesy, man. So I called everybody and said, hey, man, I just paid you for 2.5 weeks. I don't know what's going to happen after that, because we weren't allowed to be open. And then I filled out all the furlough paperwork, and I was like, man, but didn't submit it. And then we just ended up paying everybody for however long to stay home, because we had a little bit of slush fund. And then it took off. People were at home playing instruments, and we're a lucky industry. People that own restaurants or anything at the time. A lot of people. I stopped saying, "How you been?" Because you'd see an old friend, you go, "How you been?" They're like, "Oh," and their industry was that they lost their job or lost their company. We were lucky, for the MI industry had an explosion, and we knew it wasn't going to continue, that it would normalize to a degree, which it has. But it was a fun ride, and that was a game changer for us, because we could pivot. I'd called my vendor rep and said, what is going on? And he said, I have more orders this week than I had all last year.
Wow.
So Grant and I just started. That was a great thing about it. It was just me and him. We could make decisions. We could pivot on a dime. And so we just started ordering inventory like drunken sailors. And so that was a great gap up year where, our online presence and our sales it just went gangbusters for a year. So that was a fun year,
It was a down year, but it was a fun year.
Yeah,
like I said,
for us, because it was like we had inventory, so we were selling it, and we reached new customers. But that was for guys like you that are road dogs at tour. I mean, you didn't know what the future was going to be.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a horrible place for you to be in. Leah too, because she was supposed to play South by that year.
Yeah.
And they and things started getting her whole tour got canceled, and so. Definitely funky times. And so glad you're back on the road. So you just did
Gary Clark Jr.
And how was that?
It was really good for the time I was out there.
Yeah.
It was really good watching this guy. It's very rare you get to work for somebody that you listen to all the time.
Right.
So watching him every night was just amazing. And working for
cool family environment with
very cool family, very good vibe within that camp. They treat their crew well. Working for Eric Zapata, his guitar player. Yeah. To me, I'd never done any work for someone like him. Definitely a mad genius there, man. But listening to him and Gary every night, and the band has an amazing band behind him, so it was great. Did you
do any more Duran coming up?
Got some Duran stuff coming up, October, November, and then the end of year run.
All right.
The New Year's Eve stuff, West Coast stuff. So,
well, if you do Japan, let me know someone.
Yeah, definitely, man.
That's over there, so maybe come see you.
I have a couple more questions for you, man. This is a new thing. I'm doing this.
All right.
Best part, worst part of your day.
Best part, man, just
for today.
For today.
For today, your best part, worst part of your day so far.
Man, it's all been good, man. Saw the dogs this morning. Walked the dogs and had coffee with the wife and chilled out. And then hopefully me and you go break some bread here in a minute. So, man, I feel lucky in life. I'm good. So nothing bad other than probably my hair and getting older.
And it's called Is Breakfast Included? And don't let me down, man.
Okay.
If we were having breakfast, what would you have?
Poached eggs, English muffin, sausage links, hash browns, ketchup, and some kind of spicy boutique hot sauce, habanero to mix in there. Yeah. Coffee, fresh squeezed orange juice.
Black coffee and orange juice?
If it's fresh squeezed, yes.
It's got to be fresh squeezed.
Yeah, black coffee. That's it. I could eat that every day.
Right on, man.
I may have. So. So
I see you sucking it in with me through the entire thing. We're like,
56. Who cares?
oh, brother, thank you for doing
Man,
this. I love you, man.
I love you, Bernie. You
and,
rule, man. Yeah.
And thank you for taking time to do this.
Right on. Tommy Roberts. That was a lot of fun. Tommy, I love this guy. He's such a him, Grant, the entire staff at Tone Shop Guitars are just good people, and you feel safe when you walk in there. You can find out more about Tone Shop Guitars at toneshopguitars.com. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Tone Shop Guitars. Check them out, see what they have to offer, and if you're in the Dallas area, go pay them a visit. While you're online, check out isbreakfast.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Rate and review the show at Apple Podcast, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. While you're there, pick up a shirt. Pick up a shirt. All right, guys, I'm done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.